Helping the at-risk student. See, ask, listen, help. This e-learning module is brought to you by the Minnesota State High School League and the Max Foundation. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 34. According to the CDC, 3 out of every 100,000 children aged 10 to 14 died by suicide in 2020. The suicide rate quadruples for those aged 15 to 24. For every death by suicide, an estimated 25 others try to take their own life. Males make up nearly 80% of all suicide deaths. However, females attempt suicide 3 times more often. There are several common themes in most suicidal situations. First, suicide is not about wanting to die. Rather, it's about ending the severe emotional pain or panic a person is experiencing. Most people thinking about suicide communicate thoughts and their intent in advance. Prevention and intervention are essential to stopping suicide. With proper prevention and intervention strategies, many at-risk people may never be suicidal again. Preventing suicide is something anyone can do. There are 4 simple steps you can take to help the at-risk student in your school. See, ask, listen, help. See, the risk factors, warning signs, coded messages, and any actions or direct statements indicating a person is suicidal or in danger. Ask. Ask about any behaviors you observe that are concerning. Ask about suicide directly. Listen. Encourage the student to tell his or her story. Help. Immediately get help for any at-risk or actively suicidal student. See risk factors. Suicide is rarely caused by a single circumstance or event. Instead, a range of factors increase risk. Risk factors can include an untimely death, including losing someone to suicide, homicidal thoughts or actions, being a bully or being a target of bullying, students struggling with sexual orientation and gender identity factors, prior suicide attempts or suicide rehearsals, and substance abuse and intoxication. These common risk factors are all circumstances that increase the possibility that a person will attempt suicide. See signs of depression. Depression is a common mental health disorder affecting more than 6% of all children aged 12 to 17. Pattern changes related to a deepening depression that could increase the likelihood of suicide include a student that is sad, angry, or irritable most of the time, a student that is withdrawn from others, a sharp increase or decrease in appetite, excessive sleeping or oversleeping, and feelings of guilt, hopelessness, and helplessness. Other observable signs of deepening depression include fatigue or loss of energy, extreme sensitivity to rejection or failure, diminished interest or pleasure in activities, inability to concentrate or make decisions. See signs of anxiety. Anxiety is the most common mental health disorder for children aged 12 to 17, and nearly 75% of students with depression also struggle with anxiety. Visible signs of anxiety include students who appear anxious, fidgety, restless, or checked out, avoidance of activities, excessive worry, sleeping difficulties, poor concentration, and muscle tension and fatigue. Drag and drop the signs of depression and anxiety into the correct blue box. Hit Submit when you are finished. See warning signs. Coaches, advisors, and directors may see or hear participants verbalize suicide warning signs through their thought patterns. Statements like, either I make the team or I'm going to die, I try so hard and I always fail, I have nothing to look forward to in this life, I might as well just kill myself, I just can't take it anymore. Other suicide warning signs include talking or writing about suicide, engaging in non-fatal suicidal behavior, things like having a suicide plan or means in which to commit suicide, using end-of-life statements, experiencing severe guilt or shame, feeling trapped, defeated, or hopeless, giving away prized possessions. Choose whether each statement is true or false. Listen. Use these listening strategies to enhance the emotional safety of student participants. Remember, connected relationships are protective. Choose a private place to talk and listen. Discuss personal information in private and away from others. Have resources available to help the student be safe. And know who to contact if a student is in crisis. Listen. Risk communication studies consistently show that people determine who are helpers and responders within the first 30 seconds of contact with them. Competence, honesty, and commitment are important factors too. However, the thing that people report they need the most from a helper is a comforting presence. Allowing a person to share how they got to their emotional state is often therapeutic. Reflective listening encourages a person to share their story. For example, if you hear a student say, "I feel like there is no way out anymore," you could mirror that statement by saying, "It sounds like your life is really hard right now." Or, "What I hear you saying is that you feel lost and alone with no one to help." Or, "Wow, you don't have much hope that anyone could really understand how you are feeling right now." Or, "It seems like you have no one you can trust or turn to for help." It's important to avoid these common pitfalls when you are trying to demonstrate empathy and practice reflective listening. Rushing to judgment, trying to fix the situation, asking too many questions, giving advice, interrupting with your own experience, or using closed-off body language. Remember, students in crisis need you to listen. Ask. Lead into the conversation with empathy. Draw out their story by asking, "What's going on?" Listen for warning signs. If you hear anything that confirms or increases your concern for the student, ask them about suicide by framing the question with your observations. For example, "I heard you state that there is no way out of this situation," and then ask about suicide directly. Asking about suicide. Asking students directly about suicide is an important intervention strategy. Questions such as, "Are you thinking about suicide?" Or, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" Or sometimes, when people feel like there's no way out of a situation, they may be thinking about suicide. Are you? Be sure to ask at least twice, specifically inquiring about suicide. There are two things you can do to help the student who answers yes to questions about suicide. Stay positive by saying, "I want you to live," and inject hope by offering to connect them to help. "I want to help you live and get through this." Keep the conversation going by asking additional questions like, "Have you thought about how you would attempt suicide? Have you attempted suicide in the past? How long ago? What has helped you want to live when you have had hopeless feelings in the past?" Or, "Have you or will you be using alcohol or other drugs? Get help." When you encounter a student that is in crisis, there are several supports to which you may be able to connect the student. There are more formal supports, like designated school staff, counseling services, a family doctor, and local and national crisis services. And there are more informal supports, things like family, friends, or a faith community. Do you know who you should go to in your school when you have a student in crisis? Administrators must ensure that their coaches, advisors, and directors know who to report to in their school should they encounter a student in crisis. The best outcomes are realized when the coach, advisor, or director works as part of a team of caring people to connect the at-risk student to available supports. Besides local supports, 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, is available. In addition, you might consider utilizing the crisis text line with an at-risk student. Both of these services are free. Preventing suicide is something anyone can do. See, ask, listen, help. Thank you to the Max Foundation for supporting the development of this e-learning module. You can learn more about their mission to facilitate mental wellness in youth by visiting maxmarvinfoundation.org.